that human beings need obstacles to overcome. And we're always striving to have a peaceful, calm life. But really, you always pick challenges. You pick the toughest ski slope to go down. You pick a tougher tennis match against you. You pick the longer miles that you're going to ride because you don't know if you're going to make it. And that's what makes it exciting. And for me, I'm really not absolutely positive, 100% sure I'm going to make it to New York, let alone even first. And that element of risk makes it exciting. It makes it an adventure, because this isn't just a race, it's an adventure in life.
6 hours after I had gotten off the bike last year, John Marino invited me to compete in this race. And if it would have been just another time, well, why don't you see if you can go out and do it again faster? I would have said, well, that's crazy, you know. But since there was competition this time, it added a little different twinge to the whole ride, and that's a little bit of variety helps a little bit in an event like this.
Records are important to me, Diane. I like to break records, and 10 days or sub 10 days is a fascinating concept. If we can go under 10 days for 3,000 miles, I think that's basically what I'm looking for.
I've done this trip 3 times, and each time I did it by myself, kind of going against this big record in the sky someplace that you keep trying to beat. And always, God, I wonder how so-and-so would do on this day under these conditions. Well, you never know because that person's not around. So finally, the race is now coming together, and we're getting the 4 of us together, and we're all going to leave at the same time. We're going to have the same conditions, the same temperature, the same winds, and it's even. So now we can see who's the best to get across this country the fastest.
Jim, once you are immersed in the exhaustion of any extreme endurance event, you become thoroughly unconcerned with the usual civilized complexities. All you care about is going to the bathroom, eating, sleeping. And it isn't just the physical. Your personality also is reduced to its simplest elements.
Okay, I got a psych joke for you guys. How many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? How many? Only one, but the light bulb has to really want to change. All right, so my students like it better. They're younger.
As the riders approached the threshold of the desert near Banning, California, Lon Haldeman had established a slight lead, no more than 30 seconds. It didn't seem to mean a thing. Ahead lay a world of searing dryness and 100-degree heat, a ride into the unknown. It was best for the riders that they couldn't hear reports of the weather in Palm Springs.
Desert weather goes like this. Fair skies for the rest of this afternoon. Temperatures tomorrow between 106 and 113, and the overnight low tonight dropping down to about 78.
Temperature in the desert right now at 44 Celsius, 112 on the Fahrenheit scale.
All day I faced a barren waste without the taste of water.
The first day, and surely none of the 4 riders was yet aware that the most important evening of the race was already at hand. By late afternoon of the first day of the Great American Bike Race, John Marino added a cluster of blisters to his growing list of problems.
Injuries, Jim, that could seem so insignificant and endurable in a shorter race must be treated immediately.
We've got to get some disinfectant on this. What we need some disinfectant.
Over a 10-12-day period, minor problems could not only force you from the race, but could lead to real physical damage. And then, of course, there's the fear that a major physical problem might come about.
John Marino is 33 years old and lives with his wife, Joan, in Irvine, California. In order to understand his devotion to bicycles, you must understand the one pivotal experience in his life, the moment when a professional baseball career was abruptly shattered, along with a part of John Marino's spine.
I was drafted by the Dodgers in 1967, Right after I was drafted, I started to lift weights to build up strength, and I became involved in a lift called the deadlift, which is trying to lift as much weight as possible from the ground up to your waist. And so one day I was attempting a maximum lift for me, which was 525 pounds, and couldn't get the bar over my knees. And because of my stubbornness, I kept trying, and finally my back made a popping sound. Everybody in the weight room actually heard this sound. And I dropped the weight and immediately flew back on my rear end, and my toes were shaking and quivering. And at that moment, I thought I had paralyzed. I thought I was paralyzed. I actually thought that I saw my whole life kind of flash in front of me at the last minute. So I looked in the Guinness book, and I found the category of bicycling, and I figured that's something that I could do without any pain. So I looked at the different events, and I saw the transcontinental event. And from then on, it was just nothing but a total immersion of myself into bicycling. And in order to get better on a bike, I had to improve my overall condition, including my back. And so the goal of setting a record across the country was the reason why I wanted to get my back better.
As the spiritual father of the event, Marino served as the example by which others would organize for the trip. This would be his fourth crossing, and he knew it could never be done without help.
The crews are handpicked. My crew is very carefully handpicked. Each person has a specific function, and the most important person of my crew is my wife, Joni. She's the cook. She's the one that pats me on the head and says, you're going to make it, and you got to keep going, and it's tough, but you got to hang in there. And that's important to me.
His past experience might have led you to believe Marino would have an organizational advantage. But in the frantic final week before the race, when everything seemed to be falling apart, it was Marino who took it upon himself to hold it together. And in doing so, he overlooked last-minute details of preparation. Now he was already 30 miles behind Lon Haldeman, and his feet were hurting. And this was only the beginning. As a full moon rose over the desert that night, second place Michael Shermer joined his support crew for the first rest stop of the trip. Always the psychology professor, Shermer had assembled the race's most sophisticated organization, complete with masseuse, nutritionist, and all manner of scientific gadgetry. To a degree, he stood aside and viewed himself as a guinea pig. He even had a machine aimed at helping him through the anticipated brief bouts with sleep.
This unit here is an electric oscilloscope. It actually has a computer chip in it, and it duplicates whatever Mike's frequency is to put him into an alpha state for his own brain waves. So this thing actually duplicates it, puts it back into his brain, and puts him right into a deep alpha sleep. By using this machine, we hope that Mike can, on his rest breaks and sleep, get a lot thorough type of relaxation and make him more refreshed for the trip. That's what we're working on here.
In Shermer's motorhome, there was still an air of excitement. It was almost fun. But for former Olympic cyclist John Howard, illusions were crumbling rapidly. John Howard fully expects to win every competition he enters. For now, he was having trouble just staying on the bike.
John, how the legs feeling? I know you were cramped up for a while.
They're really out a whole bit right now.
Yeah?
Oh, I don't have the miles.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
So how do you figure you're going to just put in the miles?
I hope I'll get stronger as the race develops. But Haldeman is an animal.
Yeah. Do you know where he is?
45 minutes up the road.
Well, Jim, later that first night, the leg cramps and then the nausea forced Howard to the side of the road for several hours. But meanwhile, Haldeman, the animal, had crossed into Arizona.